So Blakeney Motorsport is quite an eclectic mix of different disciplines. We're quite heavy on racing, all historic stuff. So a lot of stuff from the 60s and the 70s, but also quite a lot of pre-war stuff from the 20s and 30s. So we cover a huge band of racing cars and enjoy what we do. It's because everything is so different. All of the staff find it interesting working here because one day they could be working on a 1904 steam car, the next day on a BMW Batmobile CSL. So they find that whole aspect diverse and interesting.
Pretty broad spectrum, really. We range from sort of London to Brighton cars all the way up to 80s touring cars, so anything in between. The race team mainly focus on 50s and 60s sports cars, a lot of Jaguar powered machinery. And then again, we've got a lot of Grand Prix cars as well, Maseratis, Talbots, Frazer-Nash.
When I started, I did all the work on the cars, and I worked alongside the mechanics. I mean, I started working on cars with my father when I was about 6, and I didn't really complete any formal education. I didn't go and get an engineering degree. Everything I learned was basically from my dad, and then the rest of it was sort of self-taught. So, frankly, as a mechanic, I'm pretty shit, to be honest. I can spot problems and I know exactly how to do it, but having done it for so long, it's not that I got bored of it, but I enjoyed all of the thinking and the engineering exercises and working out how to fix stuff, but I'd sort of slightly done with applying it, and as I said, I've done it for a long time, so handing over responsibility and excellence to people like Mike and Tudor, who have unbelievable skills, and along with people like Wayne, who do the Frazer-Nashes, and Dave Harmer, he's old, we call him Papa. He's my oldest employee, fantastic engine builder with huge amounts of experience. I'm very happy to hand over the sort of day-to-day responsibility, and it's all about trust. If you trust that person, has your back, has the client's back, doesn't cut any corners, and what it's allowed me to do is to, along with running the business, which is, that's quite heavy on time itself, but what it allows me to do is to have an overview of what's going on in the shop, and I'm in each and every discipline 3 or 4 times a day, taking an interest in what's going on, and occasionally throw some good ideas into the mix. Definitely the core of the business when we started was Frazer-Nash, both pre-war and post-war, and I'm delighted to say that is still a really preeminent thing here. I've got a lot of respect for the cars and the really basic but clever science that went into building them when they were new, and even back in the 20s, with the 20s and 30s with the chain drive cars, and then after the war, the 50s with the conventional transmission with the gearbox and a normal back axle with a diff and whatnot. But even in period, in both disciplines, they were giant killers in period. So they were incredibly quick, handled really well, were light, and particularly with the chain drive cars, they lost much less power from the engine because it doesn't have a conventional gearbox or diff. All of the race cars we have here are obviously developed as far as we can push them, but we're fastidious about staying within the rules and within HTP specification. But like any race car company, we push those boundaries all the time. And therefore the cars that we run are generally pretty sharp. We do a little bit of winning, and we do a lot of not winning, but we're usually somewhere at the sharp end. I really applaud and enjoy the development of historic cars to make them go quicker, and platforms like Goodwood, which is now a massively preeminent, important event, not just in the historic car world, but in racing generally, which is why you get so many high-profile people wanting to be a part of it, and yet it's still motor racing. So all of those cars, whether it be an E-Type or a Cobra or whatever, all of those cars over the years have been developed to a point where the lap times, of course, come tumbling down. I think Andre Lotterer in Fred Wakeman's Lister Coupe, which we run, I think got a lap time into something like a late 23, which I think it is to date the fastest lap in the RAC T2 at Goodwood. I think the way I view it is that 95% will get a car pretty close, get it sort of certainly at the sharp end or maybe in the top 10 of qualifying, and then the extra 5% to get it a few tenths of a second quicker, or maybe a second quicker. A huge amount of effort and clever engineering and ingenuity goes into those minute areas. But the people who want to win are the people that then push those boundaries as regards to development.
We stick to the HTPs and the homologation papers. So there's little tweaks you can do to suspension, but you can't move any of the pickup points. Engines are sealed and tagged by the MSA, so they're all as they should be. But we look at lightening the cars where you can, get them down to the homologation weight, improving brake cooling, improving handling, and just, for a 6-hour race, just making sure that every component is going to work for 6 hours and not let you down. When people see Blakeney Motorsport or Patrick at the front of the grid in a Nash, or the E-Types doing well at the 6-hour, Cobras, whatever it is, they take notice. And that's all it is, it's word of mouth. There's not a huge amount of advertising done by Blakeney Motorsport. It's just putting the car at the front end of the grid. We can do most things on site. The only thing we don't do is paint. We do minor body repairs, anything engine-based, transmission, rewiring cars, machine shop, individual bespoke components. It's all done on site. Engine dyno, yes, which is a great asset to the company. So all the engines that get built under the BMS roof all go on that dyno, and they can spend days on there, be tweaked, tuned, try different exhaust configurations. So yeah, that's good.
And also, aside from the racing stuff, I love the restoration stuff. It is really, it's almost beautiful watching the boys, take an average car that's had an 80s type restoration, relatively unsympathetic, and turn that back into what it was when it was born. And we've done this recently with an Alfa, a beautiful 8C Alfa that came second at Le Mans in 1932. And the car intrinsically was still incredibly original, and very much as it was after Le Mans, with a couple of changes. But it just somehow missed the point. It wasn't the really sexy thing that it should be.
Last lap for Patrick. He's into the chicane and out again. And so Patrick Blakeney-Edwards in the Peter Newmark's lovely Alfa Monza takes first place in the Caracciola Sportrennenwagen.
We spent the last year with a fantastic American client, working with him, a lot of direction from him, which I love when we get clients involved with the cars, and turning that back into exactly what it was when it came second at Le Mans in 32. Those sorts of projects I revel in. They give so much satisfaction when they're, when you take it from A and then you take it to what is effectively Z, and then you can stand back and look at it. Those are as rewarding as any significant race win, I would say. I guess a number of races stand out, or a number of events also that stand out, and doing well in a race, particularly at somewhere like Goodwood or Le Mans or Monaco, Silverstone Classic, which I love. It's a fantastic. Doing well in a high-profile event like that, in one of our own run cars, it is always quite a special experience. I love driving the 260 Cobra, which is owned by Martin Hunt, it's a very challenging car to drive. Unlike the later cars, it's got a steering box rather than rack, skinny wheels, skinny brakes, and obviously a smaller engine than the 289. And that's a very physical car to drive. And I guess one of the favourite races in that car was Silverstone Classic a couple of years ago, where it rained from the start, and we're the only Cobra on the grid. There's lots of E-types, and I race a lot of E-types. I would say that they handle better in the wet than a Cobra does. And we got a huge amount of luck with the safety car. Martin started and held position. I think we'd qualified 5th or something like that. And he was driving really well. And it was that situation where he came in realising that there was going to be a safety car at 3 seconds after the pit window was open. And so we were able then, I got into the car, I was able to catch up the back of the queue. And I remember we were racing against James Cottingham and Harvey Stanley in their E-Type. And it's a brilliant car. And those two are really, really good drivers. And I remember coming around Copse, going faster than I should have done under the safety car, and seeing the safety car coming out with, I think it was Harvey then, in the E-Type. And I thought, I'm not supposed to be overtaken, but I had enough way, and I thought, fuck it, I'm going. I just popped in front of Harvey. Then we had about probably 8 or 9 laps of nose to tail. It was certainly the most pressure that I've ever been under in a race car. So that was a fantastic win.
From a personal point of view, as a mechanic working on a car, probably the Coupe Jaguar that Fred Wakeman brought, that was taken back to a bare chassis, and then I rebuilt that ready for the Woodcote Trophy, and we won that 2 years on the trot. And I think in those 2 years, we only had one race where we weren't on the podium, and the rest were all first and seconds. That was quite a highlight. And then probably seeing Andre Lotterer in the Lister last year was a highlight of mine as well.
Into the second apex, slides the car, finds the clipping point, turns in, straightens it up, back onto the power, into the chicane. The checkered flag is at the ready. The car that started on pole position was started by its owner, Fred Wakeman, and Fred Wakeman, with the help of Andre Lotterer, will win the RAC TT celebration at the end of just over an hour of great GT action.
Just seeing the smiles on everyone's face at the end of the day, and at the end of the weekend, knowing that the clients, the owners of the cars, have gone home happy. That's what we strive to achieve.
But certainly things like people doing the Flying Scotsman or the Paris Peking, the cars that we've helped prepare, the fact that they've driven from Paris to Peking and done really well, not broken down, is a fair example of satisfaction. Then the car comes back and it's still in one piece. You say, yeah, that's a real result. The other ones are Flying Scotsman, who prepare a nice BMW 328 for somebody, or a Triumph Dolomite, and it goes off. They have a hooligan time, drink a lot, come back, and the car is still in one piece. That's my satisfaction.
The future for the company, I'm not sure I want to get any bigger. I think we've got about 25 staff, and that's quite a lot. That's quite a handful. I don't have a partner in the business, so it is my name above the door, and that leads to, I take things personally. So when stuff does go wrong, I find that really hard, and I definitely very often have a sleep issue because of various things that are going on in the company. So I think I'm not sure I want to get any bigger. I'd quite like to spread the wings a little bit with the stuff we run. I'd like a few more 70s and 80s touring cars. That's become a favourite of mine, and I recently was fortunate enough to buy the BMW CSL, which was one of the original 10 Schnitzer cars. It's a really cool thing with Fred, and so and we've got a few issues with the car at the moment, namely mostly gearbox related, but it's a really wonderful original thing. So I'm looking forward to racing that, and probably trying to encourage a few more of our clients to get into that world. We're running now a couple of a 4CLT Maserati, a 8cm Maserati. We've got another 8cm coming hopefully very shortly, and I've got the single-seater Frazer-Nash. So that's we're taking a step in that direction, but slowly catchy monkey. I'm not in any rush. We've got enough on. What I'm proud of what we definitely as a team have done over many years. I'm proud of the ethos, I guess, that has been self-generating, with the staff. Yeah, I'm really proud of what we have collectively done and continue to do as a team.